Hey everyone, welcome to the show tonight. Um, I'm very taken by this phrase where people say, "Do the work." You know, I like that phrase. It's got a lot of energy behind it. Do the work. Uh, so I thought I would talk a little bit about, well, what happens when you do the work? We all have kind of a sense of what this means, but let's talk about it. What happens when you do the work? Hi, my name is Dr. Asatar Bear. I'm here every week doing this live stream meditation class. I teach heart rhythm meditation. This is a method of meditation that comes out of Sufism, particularly the Sufism of Hazrat Inayat Khan. So back to this topic, right? What do we mean when we say do the work? We're talking about inner work, right? Um, that's sort of obvious, right? So what happens? What is inner work? You know, um, this is what we do when we're in meditation. We go within, we explore the inner world. Um, so, who am I? Uh, what are the parts of me that are maybe not in harmony with how I'd like to be, or how I see myself, or how I see my potential? You know, what are the parts of me that feel wounded? What are the parts of me that are trying to grow? What is the whole of my being? You know, we might have a sense. Here I am using this word parts, right? Like we often see ourselves as fractured. So, what does it mean to be whole? Now, these are difficult questions to answer, and we might not really be able to answer it exactly in words. Because that's my experience anyway. The most important questions can't really be answered in words. They're bigger than that. Words are limiting. Words put us in a conceptual framework. You know, um, this is more about feeling. It's more about unlocking the power of your spirit and letting that flow through you into life. Right. So, all right, that's a pretty flowery thing to say, right? So, what happens? I'm my girlfriend is a teacher, so she has this phrase that we talk about sometimes, uh, which is glows and grows, right? What are the things that you feel a glow about? What are the things that you are grateful for? That you feel thankful, that you feel like you are doing well at, the things that are strong in you, and where are the areas that you are struggling or experiencing difficulty or challenge, or however you want to say it, right? Pain, struggle. We have different ways of expressing this same, different words that express the same thing. Where am I growing? Right? Glows and grows. So, um, this is, I think, a basic thing that happens when you go within, right? And it's a good idea to start with the things that you feel grateful for, because some of us, certainly myself included, we're very hard on ourselves. We're so willing to get into what are the ways that we fall short. And I think that doesn't start us off on the right foot. It doesn't start us with the proper appreciation for the gifts that we've been given, for the strengths that we have. We have to start, or it's a good idea at least. We don't have to do anything, but it's a good idea to start with gratitude, with the things that give us that glow. And often, what I find is that our challenges, our shortcomings, and so on, kind of just flow from that, you know? Um, and sometimes there's even a nice synergy that happens, that the things that are difficult are might be connected in some way to the things that we feel grateful for. That's often how it works, right? So I think of, Hazrat Inayat Khan talked about the inner work taking place in different time frames. We said there's a short term aspect of growth, there's a medium term aspect of it, and there's a long term aspect of it. And the short term aspect, he called the pressing need. So, what is this? This is the thing that we really need in our life right now. Now, we want to focus our attention on the inner dimension of what it is that we need, right? I mean, there's lots of outer things, but we want to, when we're doing inner work, it's like if you're accomplishing an outer goal, that's important, right? But we always want to keep in mind it is the inner transformation that causes. That's the thing that we're after, right? So we don't want to fall into the trap of thinking an external thing is going to make us happy, right? I mean, this is what our culture is like always telling us. That's an illusion, okay? That's not the case. But we do want to be aware, look, what's happening in meditation is we are uncovering and exploring inner power, insight, clarity, strength, courage, joy, all of these things, right? Connection, oneness. There's a tremendous amount of resources within us, within our hearts, our souls, our spirits. And it's only natural to want to use that, to apply that, to have that be reflected in our outer lives, right? Um, so, can we use our inner resources to achieve the thing that our heart's really longing for, right? To make progress toward this pressing need. Okay, so short term. If we look at it medium term, well, when we meditate, when we explore ourselves on an inner level, I mean, meditation is, let's say, it's one tool, right? It's not the only tool of inner work by any means. But so let's say it more broadly, right? When we do inner work, we're also changing our understanding of ourselves. We're changing our understanding of life itself. And Hazrat Khan calls this realization. What is our understanding of who we are? What is the nature of life? And what is the relationship between the two, right? How am I related to the universe, right? That is something that changes over time, okay? And it changes as you explore the different states that happen in meditation, okay? So we develop our mind, we develop the ability to focus, we we try to get access to the flow state, right, where everything flows harmonically. Uh, and we're looking for the state of unity, the state of oneness. So this changes us, when we have an experience where it feels like I am one with everything. Well, that changes your understanding of yourself, okay? But that doesn't happen immediately. It happens through repeated experiences, repeated exposure. All right. Um, you know, I'm approaching this from kind of like this conceptual perspective, right? Because I don't know. I guess I'm a conceptual kind of person. I think another way to answer this question is you have a sense of it already. You might know somebody, you might be aware of somebody who has really committed themselves to doing inner work over time, and you have kind of a sense of like, well, what is that person like? Are they perfect? No. Right, none of us can make that claim. But what characteristics do they have? Well, are they reactive, let's say, right? Are they flying off the handle, half baked, or whatever? Well, probably not, right? um, a person who's done a lot of inner work tends to respond to things thoughtfully. Does that mean they always say the right thing, always do the right thing? Not at all, right? But it does mean that you're not so much ruled by your initial reaction to something, right? There's a kind of a pause between something happening and then your response. It's not to say that there's no response. That might not be the thing that's called for, right? But it's like we want there to be space between what happens and our like reactivity to it, right? It's like that. That's why I'm using this word respond rather than react. That there's a sense of calm. There's a sense of peace about a person who's done a lot of inner work. They know themselves and they have found peace in that knowing, right? So, and again, this is something that we look for to happen over time as we do the work, right? Um, we're all longing to grow. There is no one alive who is not growing. It's just such a fundamental human longing. So when I say, what does it look like when we do the work, or what does it mean when we do the work? What happens when we do the work? Um, it doesn't mean that we've got to the point where we're not growing anymore, right? It just there's signals, there's kind of way stations along the way, right? So we want to have a sense of what that is because it can be motivating. I mean, like something has to keep us going. Something has to keep us going as we do the work, right? It has to give us a reason, because inner work is hard. I mean, you are going to come face to face with that which you're longing for. You're going to come face to face with the things that are unresolved, the things that aren't healed, the things that still hurt. Um, and that's good because these are things that are unresolved, um, unintegrated, right? We are longing to integrate all of the experiences of our life into a whole being, right? And when there's a place within yourself that you are afraid to go or avoid or whatever, right? That's a sign that it's not integrated. It's not part of the whole. So something to think about, perhaps. Now, Lee is going to be with us next week. So if you miss her, like I do, then you'll see you'll see her that. But let's do some meditation so that we can try to explore this a little bit more experientially. So we're meditating. The first step is posture. So we want to sit in such a way that we have a good upright spine. We want our posture to be upright yet relaxed. So search for the sense that your weight is settled on your sits bones, that you're sitting so that your knees are even with your hips or maybe slightly lower, because this makes it easier for your spine to be upright. Your spine is never going to be perfectly straight. It has a natural kind of S shaped curve in it slightly. But we want the spine to be upright and energized. So look for a sensation as if you are being pulled from above. Now, for me, that often means leaning back some. When I'm at work, I work on the keyboard and whatever, I'm often kind of leaning forward, if I'm talking to somebody or, it's like your energy's going forward. So when I settle into my posture, I often find myself kind of leaning forward and I just notice, let me just shift back a little bit and just see, does that result in me still being upright, but having a little bit less tension? And if you're leaning forward, you're going to feel that in your back, right? Now, if you're leaning too far back, you're going to feel that in your abdominal muscles. Okay. So just find that balance point, right? Find that balance point. It's a physical study how to sit in a way that is upright yet relaxed. You tune into your breathing. And the first step, of course, is just to notice that you are breathing. And we're trying to start from the state of gratitude. So let's just be grateful for the incredible gift that is each breath. Hazrat Anayat Khan says, every moment of life is an invaluable opportunity. Every breath is a gift. We're so often unaware of the gift of that breath. When you really pay attention to it, it is such a sublime pleasure. Just feel the breath. I notice it particularly on the inhalation, just revitalizing and replenishing. Many forms of meditation involve the observing of the breath, the watching of the breath. With heart rhythm meditation, we want to optimize the breath. We want to perfect the breath. What does that mean? How can we perfect the breath? The breath, after all, is a fundamental kind of energy. And the word for breath is often the word for energy. In the Hindu tradition, breath is prana, energy, prana. If that is the case, then by changing our breath, we change our energy. So, in doing so, we move from just being aware of our breath, being aware of our energy, to changing our energy, to working with our energy. And the breath becomes a very powerful tool to do the work. We begin by making the breath deep. Optimizing the breath means making it deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. Now, if you're new to this, that might seem like kind of a tall order. It may seem like I'm asking you to do a lot, and that's true. It's more difficult, takes more time to learn than if you just observe the breath. Deep breathing means as you breathe in, your belly expands, gets bigger, and as you breathe out, your belly contracts. Bring your awareness to your belly and feel your belly moving throughout the cycle of your breath. Now, for you to be upright, there must be some tension in your core. So, the muscles of your back and abdomen must be engaged. By seeking to work on our posture, we are trying to let that muscular tension be minimal so that we can open the belly as we breathe, open the intercostal muscles, all of the muscles that regulate breathing or can regulate breathing. Bringing our energy down deep into the body, into the belly, giving us a feeling of sinking, of relaxing, of moving down deeply into ourselves. Now, we would also like to make the breath deep. I'm sorry, we'd also like to make the breath slow. So deep and slow. You might find that as you do this, you are breathing differently. Because if I tell you to breathe from your belly, if I tell you to breathe slowly, you're probably also going to breathe more. And that's good. We want the breathing action to be slow and controlled. The breath comes in, the belly expands, it reaches fullness. The belly contracts as you exhale. You empty your belly from breath and repeat this cycle. In order to do the work, we need to let down our defenses. We need to go within. We need to stop defending. We need to allow an opening, even to our own attention, to our own inner gaze. Life can be pretty hard. Sometimes we need to keep it together. Sometimes we need to tell ourselves, I'm fine. I'll get through this. But in order to really know yourself, to really explore yourself, to really do the work, you need to let down your guard. And allowing your belly to soften and your breathing to slow, this is a physiological signal to yourself to let down your guard. When you're guarding yourself, you keep your core tight. You don't breathe slowly when you're protecting yourself. You breathe fast and tight. So by breathing deeply and breathing slowly, you're sending a signal just through the actions of your body. Say to yourself, it's time to open. It's time to open my heart, open my soul, open my spirit, and uncover all that is within me. Now, we'd also like to make the breath rhythmic. Since breath is energy, we would like there to be a balance between the energy that comes in, that's our inhalation, and the energy that we give out on the exhalation. Now, of course, we receive energy and give energy in so many different ways. But here we are in meditation, we're being still. We are limiting the ways that we receive energy. We have our eyes closed. We are focusing our attention not outwardly but inwardly. We're paying attention to the breath. We are working on perfecting the breath. There may still be sounds, there may still be some sensations. There are still thoughts and feelings and so on. But we're focusing on the breath. As you breathe in, receiving, as you breathe out, giving, expressing, radiating, speaking, even through silence. And in life, we must both give and receive. There must be a balance. But it's very common for our breath to become unbalanced, for the inhalation or the exhalation to be longer than the other. And then on the other side, it must be more intense because there's an exchange of air that must be maintained, right? So if your exhalation is longer, then your inhalation has to be shorter and more intense to make up the same volume. We are seeking to balance it. This is what we mean by rhythmic. Same length and intensity as you breathe in, same length and intensity as you breathe out. We also want to make our breath heart centered. That is, that as we breathe in, we are energizing our hearts. We are energizing our most sacred place, the home of all of our qualities. That, that center that holds our strength, our joy, our sense of humor, our ability to endure, our courage, our love, our joy, our sense of connection, and so much more. We want to connect that fundamental flow of life that is the breath with ourselves in our deep and sacred place. And we can do both of these things through the same technique, which is to feel your heart beating and to breathe in the same number of beats as you breathe out. This is challenging. We know that not everyone can feel their heartbeat. I've taught this to many, many people. I've seen maybe about half can feel their heartbeat right away, and half cannot. If half the people cannot do something right away, then that thing is not easy. And that's okay, but it is worthwhile. If you find yourself not feeling your heartbeat, you can try placing your hand on your chest. You can try lightly pressing your fingertips on your breastbone. You can take a breath in and hold it. That might make might make the heartbeat more prominent. You can sit in such a way that you're holding your wrist, so you feel your pulse with your fingertip. All these are possibilities. You could even just try to imagine what your heartbeat is. So, though I've seen that not everyone can feel it right away, I've also seen that anyone can feel it if they pay attention over time. Might not happen right away, but if you stay with it, you will feel it. It might take more time than just this session, but I tell you, it's very worth doing. Breathing in rhythm with your heartbeat connects the body's two fundamental rhythms, breath and heartbeat. At the same time, we work on making the breath balanced and in harmony with what we are giving out and what we are receiving. Deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered. I know I'm asking a lot of you, but I hope you can begin to feel the payoff, the benefit to breathing in this way. As you breathe in, feel that sense of gratitude. Bring to mind the things that you feel grateful for. Suffuse that feeling with your breath. Breathe it deeply into your heart. Savor it. As you breathe out, send your breath toward the areas in which you feel you are growing, the ways in which you feel challenged, the difficulties, the opportunities for growth. You These are areas which need your heart, which need your heart's power, your heart's joy, the motivation that comes from deep within you. You need more of your energy. You just bring these challenges to mind and breathe into them. How do you do that? You might be asking. How do you breathe into a challenge? Well, if you think of the things that challenge you right now, you're going to have some response to that within you, some thoughts, some feelings, perhaps even some sensations. You might experience imagery. You might experience a kind of chain of thought, a narrative, a story. You might become caught up in a thing that happened, might even seem unrelated. There's an energetic connection. Your heart is not linear. Your heart is not a box. Your heart does not use words. Your heart uses feelings, impressions, sensations. It's metaphorical. It's like a dream, like a poem. Whatever thoughts, images, sensations, whatever it is, breathe into it. Send the power of your heart, the love of your heart, the light of your heart. Send that through that experience. You are not denying the experience. You are simply breathing with it. So your attention may go back and forth between the sensation of the breath and whatever it is you're thinking, feeling, experiencing. That is what it means to breathe into the experience. When we really go into a place of difficulty, when we bring that to mind, it can be incredibly distracting. It can be very easy to lose our whatever vibe that we've attained, and that's okay. Just hold faith that you are sending that energy. You are applying the energy, strength of your heart to something that needs more of that. As you inhale, you return to that glow of gratitude. Exhale and send the breath toward the difficulty. Here you may find that you need more power. And that is where the last step of our rhythm meditation, of the basic foundation of it, comes in. And that is to make the breath full, to breathe in to your belly and then keep going and fill your lungs, allowing the sides of your body to expand, your chest to expand, bringing the motion of breathing all the way up to your collarbone. Breathing out, emptying the chest, emptying the sides of the body, contracting the belly, contracting your belly button, moving toward your spine, squeezing out all of the breath with your abdominal muscles. The more you breathe out, the more you can breathe in. The more you give, the more you can then receive. We must empty our cup before it can be filled again. What is struggle? What is difficulty? What is challenge? It is something that is incomplete. As you finish your breath, really breathe all the way out. You finish whatever it is that is challenging you. There is, in general, not enough finishing energy. I feel this in myself. To really finish, to really bring it to a close, is so powerful. What happens within then happens without. Finish the exhalation. Breathe in, finish the inhalation. More energy, more power, more of all of the qualities of your heart, more tenderness, more patience, more love. You may begin to find as you continuously develop your breath, always seeking to perfect it. Deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and full. You may begin to feel that the energy of your breath is greater than yourself, greater than your limited notion of your individuality. That the energy of the breath that you take in comes from an endless distance, that it has unlimited flow, that its power is endless. That is, the development of the breath naturally brings us to a state of unity. That same current that flows through my heart flows through yours. For we are one. Each moment that we spend in this blessed state is significant. Each moment changes us. And because we are all connected, because we are all, in fact, one being, any change made to one is a change to the whole. We are cells in the same vast body. Cells becoming aware of the unity of being. May every breath bring you closer to the fulfillment of your heart's desire and the purpose of your life. And when you're ready, you can begin to move your body and your meditation. Hmm. For me, there is a great sense of eternity. My body felt so still, I didn't want to move. It was a kind of a nice feeling. Sometimes people ask me, they say, I'd like to meditate, but I just can't be still. I wish I could sit still. And, you know, I, um, I feel you on that. Sitting still is hard. Your body wants to move, and it never wants to move as much as when you ask it to be still, you know? So, but all I can say is when you really focus on your breath, you forget, you know? You only can pay attention to so many things at once, right? I know it's hard. What I'm asking you to do to perfect the breath is hard. I've been working on it for several decades, you know? I'm aware that it's hard work, but it makes the other aspects that are difficult a lot easier, you know? Um, you might find, well, gosh, I've been spending so much time working on the breathing. that I haven't had time to, I haven't had the space, the inner space to be uncomfortable, to fidget, to be anxious, to be bothered by my thoughts, right? So that's a win, you know, because again, this pattern of breathing is incredibly beneficial for you physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So every breath that you take in this pattern um, is tremendously valuable. At least that's been my experience. Um, so, all right, I have a question here, which is, I talk so much about meditation and the benefits of it and so on. How do you really make meditation more effective? How do you make that work in terms as a way of doing this inner work? Right. So I like this question. This is in line with this the theme, right? Of what is it? What happens when we do the work? Um, what I have found here is that what makes meditation a lot more effective is when your meditation practice, the energy that you're drawing upon in meditation is keyed in such a way, is tuned in such a way, so that it's in line with what you're working on, right? It's that it it brings to bear resources that are helpful in your challenges. Okay, so not every challenge is of the same type, right? And we're all working on different things within ourselves, right? So um, we want there's kinds of energies that will be helpful for that, right? So we can tune the energy of our hearts, for example, to give us more courage, more power, the ability to leap, for something. But that's not going to be a helpful kind of energy if the challenge that's facing us is one of endurance. It's a different energy. Okay, we if we have to wait, we need to work on patience, right? So as I say, right, there's different ways of tuning this. And so I would have to say the most effective way is to tune your meditation practice in specific ways that are right for you and right for your life right now. Okay. Now, traditionally, this is done through the help of a guide. You know, meditation is classically something that is taught in a very applied fashion. Okay. We would never teach the same practice to everybody because it's not necessarily right for everybody. I mean, yes, there are basic practices which are good for everyone, right? Like the manner of breathing that I teach, the stuff that I teach. This is a public class, right? The stuff that I teach is perfectly fine for everyone, right? But if you're asking me the question, what would make it more effective, right? Well, what makes it more effective is tuning it to you, right? Now that takes training, that takes experience. That is a way of working that's different than watching me, or following along my meditation here, right? That's a difference. That's a one-to-one working instead of you know watching a show, right? That's a different thing. So if you're interested in that way of working, send me a message or something, and I'll see if I have the availability. Okay, I have a question here. Let's see. Um, from my friend Shaka Rahman. Nice to see you. Thank you, Asata. It's kind of you to interrupt your own meditation by speaking and instructing others. Uh, next week, we'll have both. You can meditate with all sincere members of the audience together. Yeah, yeah. Uh, well, thank you. I'm glad that you appreciate that. Also, it's difficult to breathe out at the end. Yes, right, absolutely. Um, very difficult. By breathing, by completing the whole exhalation, we psychologically bring ourselves to a point of depletion, you know, um, and that's difficult. I mean, we bring ourselves to the brink of death because no, I mean, metaphorically, right? Not really, but metaphorically, it feels like that. Breathe all the way out. We have no breath. that also happens when you die, so it's natural that it brings up difficulty, it brings up fear, and it also brings you power. Uh, so it's worth it, but this is one of the aspects that is difficult about the inner work, right? It's confronting uh, confronting the fear, confronting the difficulty. So I'm glad you're experiencing that. That means that you're working, right? That means that you're making progress. So that's very good. Um, all right. So we will be back next week. We'll continue on. If you have a topic you'd like to see addressed, send me a message on Twitter. I guess it's called X now, or Facebook, or drop me a comment here if it's something public, um, and I'd love to address it. And as always, if you'd like to support the show, we have the link to the Patreon is in the description. And thank you all so much for being with me tonight. It was really nice to meditate together. I thought we had a really good vibe. So take care, everyone. See you next week.